Hi guys, it's Tanyalee Davis. I'm a stand-up comedian and I talk about my life quite a bit and all my craziness that ensues being a little person. Over the last couple of years I've started doing a Chat With Me Tanyalee's video series and a Small Talk and Dance With Me Tanyalee. And now in my stand-up as well as in my videos I touch on the subject of sex. I'm quite open-minded. I'm quite forthcoming and frank about the discussions, and since I've put out some of my videos, I've received amazing feedback from people that asked if there's any way if I could talk a little bit more about sex and give some advice. I mean, obviously I'm not a sexologist. I'm just a gal that's had experiences, and I thought perhaps if I shared my experiences and my insecurities with you, the viewing public, that maybe you can learn something or be inspired or, help improve your sex life, because nowadays things are so crazy out in the real world that we need to make sure that we are keeping ourselves mentally and physically in check. And so I decided to start a new series called Sexy with Tanyalee. And like I said, I'm going to tell you about my experiences and stuff. I started doing comedy when I was 19 years old, but I didn't have sex until I was 21 years old. Kind of a late bloomer as far as some people go. I hooked up with a guy that I was going to university with, and we were friends, and I guess I liked him probably more than he liked me, but he did me a favor, I guess. But it was pretty much meaningless. But, being in the entertainment business, as a comedian, you're, as a little person, quite a, center of attention, a lot of it, and, I've worked in bars and comedy clubs, so there's a lot of alcohol involved. So between, like, the ages of 21 and 27-ish, I basically, I fooled around quite a bit. I hooked up with guys, but it was just basically for the attention and wanting to feel liked, even though it was just sort of a temporary thing, because I never really enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I never got satisfaction physically from sex, because I didn't know my own body, and that is a big deal. When you don't know what makes your own body tick, it's hard to communicate to your partners what makes you tick, especially when you're insecure and you're, like, for me, I was just, oh God, do I ask him to undress me because I need to get my dressing stick to help pull down my bits, or do I tell him that I need moving over this way or this way, and it just, when you're not comfortable with somebody, it's difficult to do that. And so, I never achieved that crescendo or, fireworks, pow, 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 pow. That's why I was always more of a giver than a taker. I always had fun and got no regrets and stuff, but now looking back, I really did myself disservice. I don't know about you guys, nobody talked to me about self-exploration or masturbation. And also, I'm limited. I've got, short arms. I can't reach places. I didn't even know that was even really an option. And so I always joked, like, guys tried. The men that I was with gave it an honest go, and I really did enjoy it, but all the time, basically, I faked it. I lied. But then I also cheated myself. But once again, it goes back to just my own insecurities and just wanting to be liked and be like, oh, yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? All right, see you next time, or never. I always joke to my girlfriends that I would marry the first man that gave me an orgasm. And when I was 27 years old, I met the man that would then become my husband, Marty, 6 feet tall, so massive height difference, me being, I was 3'6" at the time. I think I'm shrinking. Marty, I was 27 and he was 17 years older than me. So there was a big age difference. But I really think that benefited us, or me personally, because he you know, he'd been around the block. He'd been married for 20 years. He was very open, and he was so caring and nurturing, and he understood my limitations and my lack of knowledge and stuff like that. But he really made me feel comfortable and wanted to explore my body with me to show me what could happen in a good way. You know, people have erogenous zones. I had no idea I had erogenous zones. Oh, hello, happy days, right? And Marty's also the first guy that introduced me to sex toys. I know that's sort of a, you know, used to be more so a, you know, under the, you know, giggle, can't talk about that. But nowadays, I mean, we lived in Hollywood, so there was a sex shop on every corner. So, you know, I have a lot of nerve problems. At the time, I was having spinal cord problems, so I was numb from the waist down. And so when it came to just regular sex and stuff, nothing, I couldn't achieve anything, fireworks or orgasms or anything, because I just was numb, and just regular sex or, you know, stimulation just didn't help. So Marty thought, okay, maybe if we get a vibrator. And so we just went and got your run-of-the-mill purple dildo. It had, like, you know, a nice slow pulsing sensation, and then you can rev it up, and then eventually it's like jackhammer mode. And so Marty was the first person that started to show me, and, you know, would test it out in different places. I was like, oh, hello. And yeah, then all of a sudden, but it ended up taking jackhammer mode to really get me to have that spasgasm, you know, that the one where you've been electrocuted. Oh yeah, you know. But it was, the thing is I was really comfortable with Marty, you know, obviously months and months, and communication is such an important thing. When you don't know your own body, it's very difficult to communicate to your partner about what makes you tick. So by exploring that together, that really brought us a lot closer. And you know, all those years I look back and I was like, well, I was really missing out. You know, but it is what it is. The problem is like, nobody really talked to me about sex or masturbation. And with my short arms, I was like, that's just never really, you know, it's not like I one day could just, you know, wand my hand across my girl bits there and go, ooh, like, it just, they're never in that, they're always touching my boobs. So, yeah, that was, that, you know, masturbation is a big thing. So, luckily I have one of my good friends, Christine, who's also a comedian. She used to work at a sex store, like a sex Walmart mega store warehouse thing in Portland, and oh boy, did we have some fun times there. Got to hold different, you know, vibrators and dildos, and like, you know, use the force, playing with the plastic pussies and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. And I had said to her, you know, I can't reach my area. Can we find something? And she's like, we have got something for you. So we basically ransacked the old sex warehouse, and we found this particular vibrator. It's called the Gerbil Flex, and it's got like a control pack with 3 buttons, and then it's got this wand that's flexible, that bends all sorts of way, and it had this gerbil, they call it a gerbil at the end. It's about that big, looked like a little egg, but if you looked at it head on, it had 2 little eyes and a nose, and basically his nose is where you're supposed to, you know, stick it in your lady garden. And but the fact is, you know, I, for the first time ever, could reach down there myself, and well, hello. I also recommend a shower head. That never occurred to me either. You know, the shower heads that are adjustable, and you can put the mega forceful stream on there. Just, if it's got the long wand, you can stick it up in there. Yeah, it's very, very handy. So, yeah, the vibrator was a big thing. And it's funny, I've been looking at, you know, I've got a whole selection of vibrators and stuff. They're all named after animals. It's really weird. Like, so we've got the gerbil, of course. Lots of women are familiar with the rabbit. What else? They got kangaroo, dolphin, the pony, I basically started calling my vagina the zoo. That's how popular it is. Women are very complicated individuals, especially down there, right? A lot of stuff, so you really need to make sure you know what makes you tick. And so it's a lot easier if you have a partner you can communicate with. Once again, I was so happy with the gerbil vibrator that I went and bought like about 6 of them, and I sent a couple to my little people, female friends, and you're welcome. So hopefully they got as much use out of them. I think they may have discontinued them. I did find, if you do a search for gerbil flex vibrator, I highly recommend that if you have short arms. Yeah, because once you start having great sex, you won't settle for anything less. So one of the questions, I put this out online because I was just asking people, what would you like me to talk about in regards to sex? So as somebody with a disability, dwarfism, but this can be related to any type of disability, is a lot of my friends are concerned about, well, how can you weed out, like the guys, the people with the fetishes? And, like I said, when I first started having sex and I was hooking up with guys at bars and stuff like that, you're never going to meet the person of your dreams at a bar when you've been drinking. And so, I knew what the situation was. I wasn't kidding anybody. I just, basically was insecure, and I liked the attention. But as I grew older, I think what it is we focus so much on physicality in our lives. But when you think about it, everybody's going to get old, right? Our boobs are going to sag, our butts are going to drop, you're going to stretch marks and scars and stuff like that. We all have those things. And, when you're in a relationship, it happens on both sides. So it's the glue, the non-physical stuff that keeps you in a relationship. Your mental outlook, the chemistry, common interests, all those things. It's, by communicating, when you meet somebody, and obviously if they're throwing the word sex out there, I've always wanted to have sex with a dwarf, red flags, right? Or a disabled person, red flags. But don't assume that every person you meet is just going to want a one-night stand and leave you. I think people, as you get older, you realize that people are attracted to self-confidence more than they are physicality. And I've been really fortunate in my life. I probably, because I am quite outgoing and forthright, that I've had 2 amazing men in my life that loved me and, helped support me in that way on my journey through my sexcapades. And I think that's, some of my girlfriends, little people girlfriends, are like, oh, what if, I'm worried he might try to leave me, or he might leave me for a tall person. You cannot go into relationships thinking this way. You have to go in there thinking, he deserves me, and I deserve him. And, you have to show each other what you mean to each other, and the physical stuff really does go by the wayside. You forget about that kind of stuff. And, I realize, sex when you're disabled is very difficult, right? We don't do things traditional ways. A lot of little people, we don't have that flexation in our hips, right? A lot of women have babies via C-section because they, or most dwarf women do, because they don't have that hip flexation. So we're limited on our flexibility and the positioning and stuff that we can use. I was married for 13 years to Marty, and now I'm with Kevin. We've been together 8 years. Kevin and I actually dated before Marty, way back. I've known him 24 years, and we had sex back then and stuff, but we just didn't. Once again, it was my insecurities. But now, many moons later, here we are, and I'm literally having the best sex of my life because I trust him. I know how much he loves me. He makes me feel sexy, despite all my, bumps and bruises and scars and, aches and pains. He's right up in there. But the thing is women, no matter how self-confident you are, we still get in our own heads. We sabotage sex. And, we were having sex one time, and Marty started, we were having sex one time, and Kevin started grabbing my thighs, like he was rubbing my thighs, and because I could feel my fat jiggle, I was like, oh, don't touch my fat, like, because I could feel it jiggling, and I was like, oh, don't touch my love handles. And he goes, you know what, you make a terrible car salesman. You would make a terrible car salesman. He goes, listen, I'm already in the car. I bought the car. I put a down payment. I'm driving it. I'm loving it. He goes, but you're sitting there in the passenger seat going, oh, the bumper's about to fall off. Ooh, the windshield wipers are going wonky. Ooh, there's all this other, the lights need rewiring. And he's like, I'm already here. I'm on board. I'm driving the car, and I love it. Relax. And see, that's it. I sometimes get caught up in my own head that I'm thinking about all these other things instead of living in the moment and just realizing that intimate connection that we both love. And once I shut that off and I just go, I'm with the man that loves me and I love him, it's just the best thing ever. That connection is undeniable. And he loves this little Chevette. He loves this little car with its dents and its wonky windshields and its mileage, So I have to appreciate that. But like I said, women get caught in their own minds, and we need to live in the moment and not overthink things. I find I absorb a lot of things when I'm relaxed. We live in a very high-paced world now. We're on computers. Things are firing off like crazy, right? It's just constant stimulation. And people forget how to relax. And relaxing when you're having sex is just, it takes it to the next level. There's also different things you can do, with your partners. Watching porn. Men are very visual when it comes to sex. I have no problem with that. We watch porn together. Sometimes, he likes to watch it, but sometimes I'll close my eyes because I find that when I close my eyes and I hear what's going on, it actually stimulates me more than watching it because then I get too, critical. But I love, and certain smells, make me horny. And you got to find what works for you. I know a lot of people, if you've got a disability or dwarfism, you're limited in your movements and your flexibility. Well, some of the tricks that I do, and I do this every night before I go to bed anyway, is I stretch when I go to bed. I lay on my tummy because my hips are always locked forward, the way I'm shaped like a lightning bolt. My hips are always locked forward, and like I said, I don't have that flexation. So what I do is I lie on my tummy and I rock back and forth, just try to push my hips back, and then I stretch side to side. And Kevin will be rubbing on me and stuff like that, so we can incorporate me stretching, which gives me a little bit more flexibility when we get going. Pillows are a great thing as far as positioning and movements. If you're small and you're with somebody big, get one of those wedge pillows. That's like a big slice of cheese. What's that game? I was gonna try to think of that game with the little triangle puzzle of the pieces in the little pie hole thingy. Dang it. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's like a wedge. And so if you lean forward with your head down onto the wedge and you got your booty up in the air, that gives your partner ability to get up in there a lot easier. Pillows just in general, because I can't lie flat, I always try to put a pillow on my tummy for support. I'm with a tall guy, so laying down on our, if I'm lying on my back and he's lying on his side and we meet like a T-junction there, we're able to get it on via that way, and it's important to try new places too, have fun with things. One of the things I found was, people like to have sex in the car. Have you ever been to the drive-in? Well, typically big people try to have sex in the back seat because they're limited, right? Well, I found, and this is one of my favorite types of things to do, is if Kevin's sitting in the driver's seat and he pushes the seat back and then he leans it back, I can actually go between his legs standing and hold on to the steering wheel. So I've got actual support, and then I can basically, jump up and down. because normally I wouldn't be able to do that because I got nothing to hold on to. But yeah, so that's kind of fun if you want to try something a little different. And you know, another benefit to being with a tall person is when we're lying there side by side, you know, shoulders to waist were pretty much the same size, so I'm hugging and kissing on him, but my feet happen to be in his man bits area, so I proceed to give him a foot job. I'm a master of the foot job. Ladies, highly kids get to kiss and hug them and do all those things in the upper part, but also stimulate down there, which is a lot of fun. You gotta make sure that you trim your toenails because you don't want to give them a little extra circumcision. Anyway, guys, I hope you found my video informative, if nothing else entertaining. If you have any other questions or topics you'd like me to discuss, like I said, I'll do my best. This is just my experiences, but kind of a light-hearted look, and I hope you appreciate it and take that for what it is. My website is TanyaleeDavis.com. I'm on YouTube, Little Comedian, and check out my fan page on Facebook. I've got comedy shows coming up and via Zoom and stuff like that. So yeah, I look forward to your comments, and have great sex. And that has been it with Sexy by Tanyalee. Take care, everybody.